Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at creativity and ownership. Specifically, how the actual spaces and structures we build around art can, well, either help or hinder it.
Exactly. We've got some interesting ideas on the table, thinking about how physical places and maybe even funding models could sort of supercharge that creative spark.
Yeah, we want to explore how we might create environments where artists don't just have ideas, but where those ideas can really take root and grow, and where the creators feel a real sense of, ownership over their work.
Right. We'll look at a couple of distinct models. One's this integrated art studio idea, complete with like immediate market feedback.
Right.
And the other is this concept of a writer's bullpen, sort of aiming for a supportive theater studio vibe, see what connects them.
Okay, let's dig into that art studio first.
Yeah.
Paint us a picture. What does this space actually look like?
Well, imagine one building, right? Inside, you've got rooms for brainstorming, maybe whiteboards everywhere, buzzing with energy. Then you've got the actual printing facilities, the equipment needed to produce print art.
So the means of production are right there.
Right there. And crucially, there's also a gallery space attached in the same building.
And I read something about voting.
Yeah, part of the concept is that the community of artists within the space could brainstorm ideas and then maybe even vote on which pieces actually get printed and produced.
Interesting. So there's a collective element even before it hits the gallery wall.
Exactly. And once it is printed and hanging in that gallery, the artists get almost immediate feedback from visitors, potential buyers. They see how the market responds right away.
That sounds incredibly different from the usual process. The feedback loop is collapsed, isn't it?
Massively collapse. Think about it. Normally an artist works, maybe waits ages for a show, then the work goes off somewhere else. Here, the feedback, the market validation, it's almost instantaneous.
You used the term rocket fuel earlier when we were prepping. That feels right.
It could be, yeah. That direct response isn't just data. It could genuinely motivate, energize, maybe even shift the artist's direction based on real-time reactions. It really fosters that sense of ownership, seeing your voted on idea become reality and then watching people engage with it.
I can see that. It's not just sending work out into the void. You're right
Yeah.
there, seeing the impact. It
hmm
connects the artist directly to the audience in a really tangible way.
And it's not just about whether it sells, though that's part of it. It's hearing the comments, seeing how people look at it. That granular feedback is gold. It potentially makes the next creative steps much more informed.
It really grounds the whole process. And this idea of ownership, it feels much stronger here. You're involved in the selection, the production, seeing the public reaction.
Absolutely. It's about agency, I think. Artists aren't just suppliers to an opaque market. They're active participants from concept to potentially sale. That has to build a stronger connection, a deeper investment.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly to the writer's bullpen idea. This sounds like more than just a co-working space.
Right. It starts with a collaborative space, sure, getting writers together. But the bigger ambition is to inspire something like a theater studio model,
Meaning,
meaning attracting actual investment, funds specifically aimed at giving writers an income while they're developing new stuff, pioneering new forms of filmmaking, storytelling, whatever it might be.
wow, okay. So it's providing financial support for the experimentation, not just hoping they find funding after the fact.
Precisely. That's the potential game changer. Imagine funding writers like an R&D department for a narrative. It reduces that financial pressure, that precarity.
Which often forces writers into safer, more commercial choices, maybe.
Could do, yeah. This model says we value the exploration itself. It gives them the breathing room to take creative risks, to really innovate, maybe fail sometimes, and learn from that.
And the collaborative aspect is still key there.
Definitely. Having other writers around provides that immediate feedback, that sharpening of ideas, the creative friction that can lead to breakthroughs. It becomes an ecosystem for innovation.
So you're investing directly in the creator's potential to pioneer. That sounds like it builds a different kind of ownership, too, maybe a dedication to the project because it's supported.
I think it absolutely could. Knowing that your experimental work is valued, that there are resources backing you, that fosters a deep sense of commitment and ownership over the creative journey itself.
Okay, so when we step back, these two models, the art studio, the writer's bullpen, They look different on the surface, art versus writing, but there are these really strong common threads, aren't there?
Definitely. Both are emphasizing community, that collaborative energy. Both highlight the importance of feedback, whether it's direct market response in the gallery or, studio interest and peer review in the bullpen.
It both seem fundamentally about boosting creative energy and that feeling of ownership for the creator.
That's the core connection, I think. They're both trying to tackle the isolation that can often plague creative work. They replace that siloed approach with something more interconnected, more supportive.
It feels like they're directly addressing those common pain points.
Yeah.
Isolation, the scramble for resources, the difficulty getting your work seen or funded.
Exactly. They're building structures designed to overcome those hurdles, creating environments where creativity has a better chance to thrive because the support system is built in.
It reminds me of some ideas about focusing on the source rather than just the effect, like instead of just chasing the money or the successful outcome.
You nurture the process itself. Yeah, it
Yeah.
resonates with that. By empowering the creators directly, supporting the process, providing feedback, you're focusing on cultivating the source from which abundance or success might flow.
Does this connect at all to those more philosophical ideas about fulfillment, like finding meaning in the work itself?
It could, indirectly. If these models lead to greater creative fulfillment, a stronger sense of agency and ownership, less financial stress, that could certainly contribute to a deeper sense of purpose or satisfaction in one's work, which some might link to, a kind of inner abundance or spiritual consciousness. It's about valuing the creative act and the creator.
So how do these collaborative, feedback-rich environments stack up against the traditional image of the artist? The lone genius working in isolation.
Well, they certainly offer an alternative perspective, don't they? It doesn't necessarily negate the idea of individual talent that's still vital, but it suggests that talent can be amplified, maybe even accelerated through collaboration and interaction.
So it's not either, but maybe both hand. Individual vision refined through community.
Perhaps, yeah. Genius might spark in solitude, but maybe it catches fire through connection and feedback. These models recognize the social aspect of creativity, the power of shared energy and critique.
And do you think these principles are limited to visual art and writing? Could we see this applied elsewhere?
Oh, I think absolutely. The core ideas, shared space, collaboration, rapid feedback, maybe direct support or investment seem really transferable.
Like in music
Mhm.
or tech?
Sure. Imagine musician co-ops with shared studios and regular performance nights for instant feedback. Or tech incubators that are less about just office space and more about structured peer review and shared experimentation. Even scientific research could benefit from models that foster more dynamic collaboration and quicker validation loops.
It's about designing the ecosystem for innovation, really, whatever the field.
Precisely. Tailoring the environment to accelerate the creative or innovative process.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've explored this integrated art studio, buzzing with creation and immediate feedback, and this writer's bullpen idea, aiming to fund innovation and storytelling. Both point towards maybe a more dynamic way of supporting creative work.
Yes, it feels like a shift away from just hoping creators find their way, towards actively building environments that nurture them. More community-driven, more feedback-rich, potentially more financially stable.
Which hopefully cultivates that crucial sense of ownership and unlocks more potential.
That's the goal, I think. More energized creators feeling more connected to their work and its impact.
So the final thought for our listeners,
Yeah.
how might designing these kinds of dedicated collaborative spaces, adding in that direct feedback, maybe finding new ways to offer financial support, how might that really change the game for creative work in the years ahead?
And maybe think about your own field, your own work. Could principles like these apply? Could we build better structures to support creativity and innovation where you are?
It definitely feels like we're exploring new territory in how we value and foster the creative spark. Lots to think about.